Hi, my name's Matt. I'm from Tabletop Games. In the last video, I showed you how to create a normal map using the marquee tool inside of Photoshop. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an AO map from this normal map, as well as creating a normal map from a texture. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that I've got Endo open, and if I click on here, go to Map Converter. Now the two textures that I'm going to be using is AO and Diffuse. I've already created the diffuse because it was causing a little bit of trouble when I was recording. The usage basically to convert it wouldn't convert it. So that's what I've done. So I'm just going to create the AO. Shouldn't take too long. And what this is doing is it's taking that normal map information and creating an AO based off where all the detail is. Now, if we were to try and do this for the low poly, it wouldn't work because we don't actually have any detail in the low poly, it's all in the normal map, so that's why we need to use the normal map. Here's the planet shadow. And also, I can play around with the here, get the right balance, probably it. And if I go over to here as well, I can get rid of the AO depth, because we're going to use AO anyway. And this is mainly going to be used to just highlight some of the edges and give a little bit more depth to it. One of the things this is good for is if we're doing mobile stuff and we can't really use normal maps, we can use these two maps combined to give that more depth to the texture. So what I'm going to do is just merge the group, Control A, Control C, and then I'm just going to copy and paste it above this group here. And then I'm going to merge this group as well. So we're going to blend these two together because at the moment they're not right. So I'm going to create a multiply on this. And I'm also going to add a brightness contrast layer here. If I press Alt, I can select this onto here. Press Alt and then deselect it. What that means is that this only affects this layer. If I untick it, it means it affects the whole stack. Let's change this to 100. Okay. And then with this one, we're just going to add a slight filter to it. So if we go to Filter Gallery and look for paint dubs. Play around. Okay. See, there you go. That's what keeps happening. I'm using my laptop at the moment. And I'm just going to group this and call this AO. Okay. So I'm going to save this. I'm actually going to open up my original file. Here you go. The reason for that is if I try and save this now, I'm going to have to find where it's saved. So I can go duplicate group and duplicate it into this PSD here. There you go. Now, the problem we've got is that because I had to convert this to 1024 by 1024 because just my computer is running out of memory. So for now, I'm just going to do this. Oh, that's not good. So what I need to do is I will shrink this PSD size. Okay. So if I try and duplicate this again, it's actually going to be fixed now, and I'm going to be able to let's try that again, shall we? There we go. Okay. I've got my AO. I'm just going to save this now. Target. I'm just going to call this AO. Okay, now we don't bake this into the diffuse because most modern day engines have material slots for AO, which helps blend them. Back before PBR was physical based rendering was introduced, we would bake the AO into the diffuse texture, but now we don't, because albedo means pure color, so we don't do that. And normally most engines have their own slot for the AO, which manages it a lot better. So if I just untick thingy and go back to 3DO, and nope, it hasn't. So we just import the mesh again. Okay. And let's import the normal. Right. Let's import the AO. So I use this demonstration with my students. So this is why I put all these textures here, because we have a look at what's crashed. Great. Let's try that again, shall we? It's had a long day. Okay. Try this again, shall we? So let's leave it to load first, and then we'll apply the AO. One thing I used to use desktops a lot, and my desktop is quite old. It's like 6 years old now, and this laptop's only like 2 years old. And plus, I do a lot of freelancing as well, so it's kind of using a laptop for that. Try that again. There we go. Let's give this a go. There you go. So you can see now that it's got more depth to it. It's probably a bit too extreme, so we can bring it back. And this is why a lot of engines have this, so that you can manually control it. Because if this was baked into the diffuse, then it'd be very hard. But you can see that it gets this nice thing. And if we turn off the normal map and turn off the AO, just let it load up. It gives that nice depth, basically. So it's very good for that. Okay, so we've got our AO, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what all these textures look like inside of 3DO applied to our mesh. The textures have been created using Dido, and in the future I may update them in Substance Painter to see what they look like, but for this demo they were done in Dido. So if we open up 3DO, let me close that down a minute. Open it up. And I'm just going to need to import my mesh again. So I'm going to find my mesh. So there it is. I'm just using the middle mouse button and left mouse button to scroll in and out, left mouse button to rotate round the pivot, right mouse button and Alt to zoom to pan in and out, middle mouse button and Alt to drag and pan, and left mouse button and Alt to drag around. You hold Shift and right mouse button, you can drag the light around as well in here. And let's just load in the albedo. May take a while. There we go. And let's change the workflow to metalness. That's what we're using. And I'm just going to bring in the metal map. Now the metal map is just black and white. White means metal, black means non-metal. Let's bring in the roughness map as well. Okay. Bring in the normal as well. So this sometimes happens. Now, what I tend to do is I just tend to let it just come back, and if it doesn't, you can just close it down and just close. And that doesn't actually close 3DO, it just closes the file exporter. And then if you click back on it, it's fine. I think it might be just my laptop, but if you do encounter it, that's how you fix it. And I'm going to put the opacity in as well, because we have got an alpha. So at the moment, the alpha isn't showing, because we need to change this to cutout. And there you go. And you can see, yeah. And I mean, I can tone down the roughness as well. It's a little bit too extreme. And I can change like how much AO is being used as well. And if I wanted to, I could put the emissive in as well. But it's just white anyway. And yeah. And I can also play around with different lighting settings. So if I wanted to see what it looked like in Unreal, I can do. This one. Bring the brightness up a little bit. See it? There you go. I can also play around with some post-processing. So, for example, actually, I will just put the emissive on. You can see glow. I'm just going to pull this off screen a minute, and let's just open up glow so you can see a different color. So glow. I'm just going to change this color to say orange. Just using the magic wand tool, so I'll just press W, and then I'm holding Shift to select it, and then pressing Alt backspace to fill. And if I just save this, so save it as platform glow. Where are you? There we go. Let's just bring this back in. Let's see, probably not the best. And let's see if it works. So we can add a bit of depth field in here as well. And get the light. So what I can do now is I can start to play around with post-processing in here. If I come up to here, now I can set the lighting, be using Unreal's lighting. So you can get a rough idea of that. And then I can play around with the post-processing. So we're going to set up our own. There are some presets here, but for this one, we're going to use, I'm just going to show you how to set up some of your own. I'm going to turn on SSAO. This just gives an ambient occlusion around the edges and where things intersect with each other. That should be fine. And we're going to simulate a physical camera. So let's line this shot how we want it. So maybe like that. Let's go back on. And let's bring in vignette. Chromatic aberration. That's a bit way too extreme, so I'm going to go 0.5. That one. There you go. So 0.5. Just to add a little bit of soft blend. I'm going to add a bit of bloom in as well. Overexpose it a little bit. Could do lens flare, which is just way too extreme. So let's 0.05 and maybe bring the exposure down, the intensity a little bit. And then we're going to have a look at depth of field. So just we had a bit of and then what you can do is whereabouts was this now? Turn those off a minute so we can get it color grading. Let's just turn that off a minute. Okay, so we can change the color grade. I really like that one. And let's just turn all this back on. There we go. And I mean, we can turn that down a little bit. Yeah, so you can start to get some really good, cool looking renders from here. And we can save this as well. So let's call this Zinny. Cool. Okay. So now we've got this preset. So if you want to redo any of this, if you want to put assets in the same kind of post-processing effect, you can do by doing this. And the other thing I would say is the roughness on this is a little bit too much. So we can bring that down. Yeah, that's probably a bit cooler. But yeah. So this has been a short introduction to 3DO and just basically what this looks like once you've created like normal map, the AO and all the other textures. So the next thing I wanted to show you was how to create a normal map texture. I'm just going to close this down. New. Hopefully I don't need those ever again. And what I did was I just went to CG textures and found a rock texture for this. So I'll put a link in the description, and CG textures is a good place just to find images for this sort of thing. So just grab a Google link. Go to CG textures. And let's find this. So rock. This. And we're just going to do this one. Okay, and then I'm going to drag that in. Okay, and hopefully, yeah, there you go, 1024 by 1024. I mean, what we want to do is make sure this tiles correctly as well. So if we go to other offset, and offset it, you can see it tiles quite well already. Go back again. If it didn't, what we can do is we can use a patch tool, which if you draw an area where you want to mask out, there you go. You can actually start to take out blemishes and that sort of stuff, repeating patterns here. And then on top of that, we could use the clone stamp to mask this out. Yeah. You can start to do that, and like you change the opacity on that as well. Start to blend in for that. So that was patch tool and clone stamp working together. But like I said, if we just offset this again, tiling on it works quite well. So you always offset it half of what the pixel size is. Okay. Now, Endu's quite good at getting this out anyway. So if we go into Endu, go photo normal presets, and we can search for rock. There we go. So we've got flat cliff. It's quite a flat cliff. click Active Document. That's created as a new document, which won't destroy the original, but it means that we can create this. Away a little bit. And there we got it. So, minus this, there we go. Start to get rid of that. There you go. And maybe get rid of large. There you go. Kind of got this already good. Diffuse. Now, the only other thing we could do is if you wanted to grayscale it, we could remove some of the lighting information. Okay, and then we could give this go again. And, so what I just did there was I put a high pass filter on it, which you can start to remove light information that is already in the image. This is very good if you want to start to create more PBRs, create textures, but I don't tend to create textures anymore inside of Photoshop. I use Substance, it's already done for you. I mean, it really hasn't fixed this, so I think it could be just to get rid of this sort of stuff. Oh, hang on. Let's try this one more time. So let's undo this, and there you go. You need to untick no edge bevel. And tick is tileable, and then it'll work. So let's go rock. Because you would be doing this to make a tileable texture, you wouldn't be doing it if it's already got like custom UVs or anything like that. You only really want to do this if, like, say, like a rock texture, if you wanted the normals from that, from it. There you go. Can you see now that you haven't got that bevel, but we can still play around with like these sort of things. Large. Let's try it again. Okay, large cliff. So play around with that, and a deep crack, adding more in. And it's just another way of getting a normal map. You could do this for wood, rock, anything like where it's going to be a tileable texture. So if we save this now, to here, texture maps, and call this rock and R. Okay, and if we go save this as well. Texture maps. Save as a target. Call this rock. Okay. Just click 3DO as well. And we can just preview this on a sphere. This. Just import albedo. So let's try that again. And then let's bring in the normal map as well. And there we go. get the albedo out a minute so we can see it without. There you go, that's the normal map. You get these crevices and then the albedo applied. Thank you for watching this video, all about creating AO from normal maps, as well as creating normal maps from textures. I also showed you a little bit about 3DO and what the sci-fi floor looks like when it's rendered. In the next video, we're going to be looking at how we can create a library of bolts inside of Endo to help speed up your workflow when it comes to building things that repeat a lot. So I'll see you in the next video.